Welcome into another special Plastic Posse podcast interview. We are extremely pleased to welcome back a friend of the show. We had him on 4 or 5 episodes ago. It was a lot of fun to talk to him, and we didn't get enough, so we've got him back. Welcome back, Andy Klein from Andy's Hobby Headquarters.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be back on your show here. I have to say I listen to all of them myself, and even the one I'm on, because I don't like listening to my own voice normally. but it's great to be back on. I appreciate it.
Well, we are excited to talk about a lot of really, really cool topics. And I think we have later on in the interview, there's something special that you're going to talk about. But in the meantime, TJ was just showing us, I've got TJ and Grant with me here, the 1/16 scale Easy 8. And TJ, what are your initial thoughts on that new kit from Andy?
It is an absolute unit. It is huge. Anyone that listens knows. Andy, you may not know, I'm a 1/35th scale guy more often than not. I dabble in 1/48 armor too, and I'm a big Sherman guy. I love Shermans are my favorite tank. So this is my first 16 scale kit, and it is awesome. I was a little surprised with exactly how big it was. I put it on my desk.
It's kind of shocking when you first open it and you go, whoa.
Yeah, I pulled it out of the box at my kitchen table, and my wife looks at it. I'm like, that's a kit. It's really, really big. She's like, oh, okay, cool. That's nice. And then I told her all about it, and she's like, oh, that's very cool. But yeah, I've started, I got a fair amount of the lower hull done. I haven't done the bogies yet, but that'll be my next project. But so far, everything's building up great. I mean, no complaints. It's fantastic. And it looks amazing.
You'll find too, I've done a lot of 16 stuff lately. And I'm like you, I was always 35. Occasionally I throw a 48 scale in there. And I am so hooked on 16 scale, not just because it's that. I mean, I'm all the 16 scale kits from Takom or Das Work. My 53-year-old fingers are easier to hold on to everything in big scale. I can see everything a lot better. You'll find it gets addictive to go into the bigger scale. And then of course all the extra detail that they've thrown in there that is great to see it on there.
I know personally, painting and weathering the turret is always like my favorite part of any armor build, and just holding that gigantic turret that's like the size of a softball in my hand in the gun barrel, which I feel like is a foot long. It's not, but I mean, you take that piece of metal out of the bag and you're like, I could like bludgeon someone with this. It's so big. Yeah, I cannot wait. I've been a little bit of a modeling funk lately and haven't really been focused, but when I got this in the mail yesterday, I brought it down here immediately and just started ripping the bags open and putting it together. So I'm really enjoying it.
Very good. I appreciate that.
Another exciting kit too is Takom's, we can say it here, their Jeep kit in the same scale. My favorite part of that, Andy, is the detail they put into that Go Devil engine under the hood. And man, fantastic. Of course, you can always add more to it, but the way that the engine head is laid out, you've got spark plugs that you could wire if you want to. All of it is, in the 16th scale, you could really go to town.
You're absolutely right. And that's all that extra detailing in there. We've found that we have a lot of car modelers that are suddenly interested. Granted, it's a soft skin, but they're interested in armor, so to speak. It's still an armor kit, I consider. And yeah, they're going to town, putting the wiring in and detailing up. And I've seen some of my locals that would never touch anything than a 24th, 25th scale car building a 16th scale Jeep.
Cool. So that's awesome. Great crossover. Well, we're going to make Andy go sit in the interview chair and get all strapped in for the hard stuff here. But before we get into those questions we have for Andy today, want to talk about a couple of things. Andy himself has started a new Facebook group for the 1/16 scale Easy 8. You can find links to that over on his Facebook page. So that'll be, it's already got awesome reference photos, and a lot of great people have jumped on there. So make sure you guys listening, go check that out. And then also the Plastic Posse, we've started a 1/16 scale Easy 8 group build as well. So that's going to be great places for you guys to get references and watch people as they go along and build these kits.
So we've talked about the Sherman, we talked about the Jeep, both fantastic. I have the Jeep. I love the Jeep. Like Scott was saying, the engine. And I'll tell you what, Andy, the 50 cal mount itself on that kit, I love that thing. And it's just the 50 cal it comes with is fantastic. But then you add the other one. Oh, wow. It is such a beautiful.
It is. They really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, they did. So I want to basically talk about some other little kits you put a video about. Also an armor guy, figure painter kind of guy. I'd love to chat about the new super heavies from Takom, the Japanese, the 150 that's coming out, the VK coming out. You've seen them. You've had your hands on them. What are they like? I know a lot of our listeners are really interested in the Japanese 150.
The Japanese is probably the best of the three, too, when you mention it there. In that particular kit, they gave you 4 metal barrels.
Oh, wow.
For all the main armaments on it there. They did give you plastic barrels in the 2 German ones, which would have been nice if that added on it. But if I'm looking and if I'm correct, the Jag Tiger barrel should replace that. So you can get one of those from Aber. It's the same size gun, and they're fictitious tanks anyway. So it looks exactly like a Jag Tiger barrel on it. So I assume that you'd be able to do that, but they are massive. I got those boxes and they were, I don't know, in my mind, I'm picturing just regular Takom boxes. And then the 3 of them showed up and all 3 were as big as the Sherman box, but so that shows you how big those things were. And you just open it and you hold it in your hand, and the Japanese tank, is a beast. And I tried looking up a little information on it and, got so many mixed things on it, but they're going with the 150 tons. So it is large. And you put anything else 35th next to it and you're like, wow, that's tiny.
And I really love the video you put out on both of them. That was great. It was really good to see that. It was really, really nice. So other than that, let's talk about what else do we have planned for Andy's in 2023.
Well, we're going to keep on keeping on, so to speak. We can talk about the special project in a little while there. Obviously I'd like, it's another kit that's coming out. It's another large scale kit. And there's more things that are going to be happening at the end of the year that are going to blow people's minds. But I hate to be the tease like that, but I'm sworn to secrecy on these other things right now for at least another month. But I'm so glad you guys reached out to me on this, because I do want to share with you my next big kit. And the kit is actually in production already. It's, I should say the molds are being cut right now.
Okay. So I have a question myself. So
yes,
all the kits you've built this year, all the ones the ones you've started, the ones you've had a little hangover from last year, which one has been your favorite?
And I'm going to discount mine because I'm going to take mine out of the mix. That was the one I had the most fun doing for obvious reasons. I mean, it fits together very well, but probably the 16 scale Stug.
Well,
I had a blast doing that, and Steve from Value Gear provided such beautiful stuff. And it just comes alive when you see all that stuff in the back there and piles of it. And speaking of that too, Steve, if you haven't seen the video, Steve has provided me with the samples. He's going to start working on those very soon, and we should have them soon for the Sherman and for the Jeep too. And the Jeep's got some great sets like that. And that's what I plan on going back and do. So if it wasn't the Stug, it would probably have to be the Jeep, because I'm like you. I like all that little detail. Now, I didn't wire it or anything because I just kind of painted it up a little bit, but the thing just is stunning to look at in person, especially when you're used to looking at a 35th scale one that's like 4 or 5 inches. And then you get, hey, this is substantial right here.
Right.
So
we're big fans of Steve's ourselves. And,
absolutely. He's one of the nicest guys you can ever meet.
If not the nicest guy. Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, he may be the nicest guy in the hobby, seriously.
Yeah, he really is. He's just
he goes out of his way to be friends with everybody, and it's great to see that.
Yeah.
And everybody knows Steve. It's like,
it is.
I know Steve, yeah.
And his work, like you said, is fantastic. He just lays everything in there just perfectly. So I'm curious a little bit. What do you expect to see not only in the hobby business, but in the hobby itself for you besides the 1/16 stuff?
Right now, I'm gonna concentrate on bigger scale stuff for the one reason I'm doing stuff that nobody else has done already.
Right.
So it'd be like foolish to do an M18 Hellcat in 35th scale right now. But to be although theirs was 6 months late in the United States, seriously, it's a gorgeous kit. And, so there's a lot of 16 scale subjects that I think are good subjects that people want. Let's face it, most modelers are getting a little bit older, and everyone has come in to a man and said, man, I appreciate the extra size. I like the guy. I can see it. I can hold it. I can do all of that with it. And honestly, the pre-sales blew me away. I'm not just saying, we are going to actually be sold out of the entire production run within the next couple of weeks.
Congratulations.
It took off like wildfire. They're shipping out thousands of them out of the warehouse. And I don't know when they can do a second production run. Obviously, we're going to probably have to, because it was, I appreciate everybody out there that went ahead and got on board with this. And guys who are not armor modelers, that was the best part. I've had guys come and go, I'm not an armor model, but I'm building this thing because it just looks so cool. It's a substantial piece. And I keep falling back on that because, you know, you started one down there. It's substantial. You hold it and you go, this is crazy on it. So,
I mean, from all of us, man, just congratulations to have your first Andy's Hobby Headquarters kit do so well. That's, I mean, fantastic vision and execution by you.
It's nerve-wracking in the beginning because you just don't know how anything's going to happen. So,
and you nailed it on the head. Like, you're building stuff that other people are not doing. And that's great. And that's what this hobby needs right now.
And honestly, I've had a store for 27 years, I think. And I fall back on that. I kind of have a general idea what most of my customers want. There'll be people that, you know, always we see all in the magazine, oh, people want this and that, but you really get an idea running a store. And a perfect example of that is with the interior. Now, I know it would be great to have an interior on that, and the people that always mention that, but I'll tell you, anytime we have a kit that comes out with an interior and without an interior, the non-interior sells 10 times more than the interior kit. I want to make, at $139, we tried to offer the best price possible for such a big kit with all the detail and stuff, and I wanted to make it for the masses. And if we put an interior in there, and we did all this other stuff, you start getting up into that $300-400 range. That just takes a huge group of the people out of the market. And the same thing with the Stug. Like, I just saw that, I just totally spaced his name. He's coming out with all resin interior parts.
David Parker.
David Parker, yes. Yeah. Yes. And you look at those, they're absolutely gorgeous. And for the one who wants to put those in, I know people are going to be doing it for the Sherman. I've already heard talking about them doing parts like the V8 engine area and all that other stuff. So it's great for the aftermarket people. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to have produced all that, but we really want to get it out to the masses, and we want to keep that price at such a point that it's affordable for everybody. And everyone likes to look at those. I ask all my customers that did buy the interior, I go, did you build any of your interior kits? Well, no, but I'm going to get around to them soon. So.
And you saw like TJ, TJ, as soon as you said interior, he was like, yep, that's true. It's 100%.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love looking at, and I've built a couple, but I have to say, after I've built one or two of them, I need a long break from doing an interior kit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got to walk away for a minute. And they look gorgeous. I love them. And I can't wait to see, as soon as someone comes up with the V8 engine for mine, CAD or a 3D printer, however they want to do it, I will pop one in there and build one up. But
that's great.
Yep.
That's great. So one more question for me. So
sure.
You recently reviewed the latest aircraft from Tamiya, the new F-35A. I had it in my hands myself at OrangeCon a week and a half ago. Fantastic kit. Can you give me your impressions of the kit and how you think it will sell?
It's going to sell very, very well. It's a phenomenal kit. Fred over at Tamiya was kind enough to actually he said, I think it was the only actual production version that they had. So I could see it exactly the way it is. And it's Tamiya quality right there. I'm looking at it and I was like, wow, I'm not normally an airplane builder, and I'm probably going to want to start building this kit.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Luke Air Force Base is right down the street from me. Yeah. I mean, I live in just north of there, and they fly over constantly. In fact, during COVID, I tried, we had to shut our store down. I tried filming outside a few times, and the jets flying over were just ruining the YouTube video. So I go, I got to go inside to go do this. Because that big, loud jet flies over. You hear it. So, but no, back to the Tamiya thing. Yeah, they did a stunning job on it. And from what I heard, they worked 5 years working on that. And there'll be people that we've heard about the RAM panels being too high and this and that. And then like, I've got a guy who actually works down there, and he said it looks good though. He said it's going to look good when you build it up, and that's the name of the game right here. My thing right there is anytime there's anything that's going to be wrong with the kit, well, I'll tell them, well, first of all, the real one is not made out of plastic. So it's not 100% accurate right from then and there on right there. So,
yep. Like I said, I was the same way. I had it in my hands. I was with George and those guys there at Orange Con.
Right.
And we sat behind the table for a while and talked. And the landing bay in that thing is.
I was just going to say, is that a thing to behold or what?
That
you
is
look
the
at
most,
that and you go,
yeah.
wow, that gets me excited just looking at that.
Yeah. I don't build aircraft myself. And I looked at that and I'm going to have two. It's like, this thing's beautiful. It's such a, and it was
Absolutely.
5 years. George was telling me it took him 5 years. Because the PAOs, of course, it was a classified aircraft for a long time, still is, but they had to there was no access for PAOs and stuff for the PAO to give them. Phenomenal. The fit, I mean, we took the halves, just, you stuck them together and they were, pop, and there were just no seam line, nothing. They're making it easy for us armor guys to move over to airplanes. So
I love the fact that they gave all of the different markings in one kit.
Yep.
Some of the other companies are like, oh, you can build the American one here, or you can build the one with all the armament package on the outside of it.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is in this kit. So you choose the way you want to do it. If you want to do an Israeli one or a US one or an Italian, whatever you want to do, it's inside there. And it's a beautiful kit. And as for selling, it's going to sell phenomenally.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw your pre-order go up and I was
it's going crazy. It's very, very, very well.
Their marketing department really hit it out of the park on this. The A model has the biggest number of customers. I'm up here in Utah and Hill Air Force Base has a scheme in the kit. I mean, this kit won't stay in the shops up here for sure, but being able to do an Aussie bird or an Israeli bird or, Luke or Hill, it's just, I think they've really hit it out of the park from a marketing standpoint.
Right. They didn't give Luke Field air markings though. I said that in the video. I mean, there's no LF on the back, and I don't know how many are down there, but there are a lot down there. Right? But a lot of them are from other countries too, because all the other guys are coming over here to train with them. So
right. All right.
That's an easy fix with a decal sheet. So.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a couple out for that aircraft pretty soon.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, that's all I got for you, Andy. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Thank you.
Pass you off to TJ.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm gonna we'll do a little more about you, Andy, you personally. So besides
boring,
yeah, I don't think so. So besides being a hobby store owner and a mail order business owner, you're also known as a modeler through YouTube. That's how I was introduced to you, obviously, being on the East Coast. And this is kind of what I was talking about before we were going. I'm in a little bit of a loss of a mojo too. So someone who's been modeling for as long as you have, what would be your advice for someone who might be struggling with their modeling mojo?
It is a perfect question because it's happened to me before too. I live, eat, and sleep modeling. I mean, more than the average person because it's my job. I see it all the time. Biggest thing that I like to do is to change it up, because I'll get burnt out on doing one type of thing too much. And that's why I'm super excited about the 16 scale again. A year ago, you didn't find hardly anything in 16 scale. And I was doing the 35th over and over again. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, I want to do something different. And then you start building 16 scale and it came alive. So anyone who out there gets into a funk, pick up something completely different scale, different genre even. I'll throw a car together. I'll do a mediocre at best job with a car. But if it's something that I'm interested in, I always look at it. I'm doing this for me first and foremost. I build this kit and I have a Formula One car that I built from Tamiya a while back. This is way before YouTube and I loved it. And for me, I thought I did a great job for as good as the guys blow it away if it was in a contest, other people, but I love it. And it was like something I'd never part with. And that was at a time too, where I was like, kind of getting burnt out on doing the same thing over and over again. I'm going to do a car. And I just sat there and did that and change it up. That's my best. And then actually my rule is if I open something, I have to finish building it. Unless it didn't, one kit in the last 20 years, I just threw out because it wasn't going together. I was having one of those days or one of those weeks. But after that, that's why I don't do a lot of different builds at the same time. So, because I know me, I'll do squirrel and I'll run off to this other kit and start building this kit and I'll have 15 unbuilt kits. And that doesn't work very good for guys going, why aren't you building on YouTube, right? So, but back to that, I would just say, just keep working on it right there and try different things. That's what gets me out of it. You do 10, 35th scale in a row and it's like, it's time to do something different now. So
you mentioned, throwing away a kit because you were having like one of those weeks or whatever. We were kind of talking about that in our last episode too, when you have one of those days at the bench. Can you tell us a time when you overcame an obstacle with a kit when you were having one of those days or one of those weeks? What did you do to push past that?
Absolutely. And I may have mentioned it in the last video there is, I am an expert at messing up every single kit I build in some way, shape, or form. I always do something, but I'm usually good enough to fix or hide what I did. And I think I told Scott last time that I broke the canopy on the 109 G6 from Tamiya. And it was the prototype one. And there was not going to be another kit coming out for 3 or 4 months. And I told him I'm going to get this video out. And I ended up having to put a Hasegawa canopy on a Tamiya. It was just the center part. Nobody was going to know anyway, but that's it. And it's, when I do mess up something, and back to that one kit that I did mess up, it was completely my fault. It was I remember it was a 32nd scale Hasegawa Focke-Wulf 190. And I got the decals on. Everything was going right. And then I had a major snafu with clear coat. And it bubbled my decals and it messed up. And I looked at it and then I accidentally touched it when I thought it was dry and it wasn't. And I go, oh my God, I just made a bigger mess out of this. And then I just sat there looking at it and I'm going, I should just cut my losses. Cause by the time I try to fix this right here, I could start a new kit, get it done and not have to repair that. And I just went, yep. And I flung it right in the trash and went and started the kit over again. And it came out fine after that. But it's crazy. Sometimes you can use the same product 20 times in a row. And that 21st time, I know it had to be me. What did I do wrong? Because it worked the last time I did this. It's frustrating. And I get mad for a couple minutes and then I basically just start laughing. And I go, this is a joke what I just did to this right here. And it's fun sometimes.
Well, kind of on that same vein, what makes you the most happy? What do you enjoy the most when it comes to the hobby? And this is anything, any aspect of the hobby. What brings you the most joy?
Believe it or not, I love seeing all the new stuff coming out and just to fondle the plastic, so to speak. And I'm in a unique situation that I get a lot of stuff very early, and it's like Christmas morning a lot of times because I get so excited, especially there's some new stuff that's going to be announced and they'll tell me and that it's coming on the way to, and I get, oh boy, I got to get in. I got to get to the store really quick to make sure I don't miss UPS that morning. And that to me is the innovation in all the new kits that come out. And even if it's something that doesn't normally my genre, there'll be like something new. Like I said, I'm not normally an airplane builder, but the F-35. See them every day. I'm kind of excited about this kit right here, or the new armor kits, or even sci-fi. When something new sci-fi comes out, I don't have a huge hoard, if you can believe it. I don't have a huge, but there's certain kits that I go, I'm not building this right away, but I am putting this away right now because I like to think about all the things I want to do with this kit. I want to build it this way. I want to do it this way. Probably never get to it because I only have so much time in life. Speaking of that, that's probably the most favorite part of the hobby is thinking of all the things and coming up with a scheme in mind. Or when we get to the next kit right here, I've been watching a ton of YouTube videos of history videos for that. And I've been learning all about, this is where this person fought. And this is how this tank fought. And then I'm like, that's how I'm going to build mine as soon as I get it. And then I go, oh, wait a minute. Here's a better scheme that I want to do. So now I've got 10 schemes by the time the kit comes in and I don't have time to build 10 kits. So to me is all the fantasy, I guess, in my brain. I'll have to call it that way. That's what I love the most about this hobby is all the things that I come up in my brain that I go, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do it. And that's what gets me excited about it again. And then trying to convert that into a build and paint job that matches what's in my brain sometimes falls short.
I do have to call you on one thing though. You say you don't have a stash, but you have a store and a warehouse, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say that.
You have like literally the biggest stash of anybody.
Right. But anyone can come into my store and buy any one of those kits off me in a heartbeat. There's only a couple special kits that I have put away, and I did put a couple of Shermans away just because I have the very first prototype one. I have the very first kit that came off the line. And then I have 2 others that are in brand new mint box I just put away. I'm just like, I plan on building more Shermans with that Sherman. So, and then a few other 16 scale from like my friends at Das Work and people like that are special, those kind of kits. But everything else, I look at it if something's about to go discontinued, then I might grab one. But usually by that time, I've usually already built it or anything that I want to do with it. But yeah, I guess I do have a pretty good stash. So.
Well, moving on with what TJ's been asking you, I wanted to ask you about your trip over to Germany. You got to hang out with Rick Lawler, got to go to museums. Tell us a little bit about that. It looked like a fantastic trip for you.
It was. I'm very, very good friends with the gentleman who owns MBK or Model Balkonig. He and his wife and my wife and I, we flew to Munich. And he picked us up there, and obviously he's a German speaker, which is wonderful when you go to a foreign country, not to be the typical American going, why aren't you speaking English, to us. So having someone like that, and we got to go to Munich and then Salzburg and Vienna and Prague and Berlin, and just got a whirlwind tour and got to see so many museums because he and I have very similar interests in that kind of stuff. And it was just an incredible time. And then of course he's also very good with the Munster Tank Museum, which at the very last day with Rick and I and a few other good friends there, we got to tour and go inside a lot of cool stuff that I honestly didn't think we'd even get a chance to, but we got to go in a lot of stuff and see the entire museum as special VIP. So that was wonderful.
Oh man, that's a
very good trip.
A dream come true for an armor builder. JB wasn't able to meet, but he wanted me to ask you specifically about Munster and which tank you enjoyed seeing and climbing on more than the others.
Overall, inside the Panther that I got to go inside, a Panther is pretty cool to go inside, and that's a runner. They told me the Panzer IV we got to go inside as a runner, and then it was kind of a last minute thing. And I've said this a few times. The Stug is kind of one of my favorite vehicles, and we were kind of walking by, and I knew they have one there, and at the last minute they go, "Hey, we got the keys to this. You want to go over and?" Heck yeah. And my very good friend Christian, who is, he does all of the Model Balkonig videos in German. Even he had never been inside of that before. I almost had to fight him to be the first one to get inside there. So he goes, "Oh, I've never been in there either. Let's jump in there." And
I can see Andy shoving him out of the way.
Right. Give him a little elbow check there to get in there. Hey, it was very, very good time. And then some of the things to go inside here, being a modeler my whole life, going inside the Sturmtiger and never dawning on me that those cutoff bolts on the outside were how they attached the upper to the lower hull. And that the Germans literally cut the top off of the Tiger and dropped this on there and just put some plates inside and drilled holes in it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's how they put this together. And then I'm sticking my finger between the gaps, and I'm like, oh my God, if this was in a contest, this would totally be kicked off the table right here. Because I can stick my finger all the way through this gap right here. Or the Russian armor. Oh my. It is some rough cuttings on some of those. And
yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I've been to that museum myself. I was over there for a couple of years in the military. And if you take your fingers and you can walk around and that SU-85 they have there, and you're like this all the way. You could take two fingers and put it at the gaps in between the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, they would. Yeah, how far would that make it in a show?
Right, absolutely. And one thing when we were talking about when TJ was talking about the Sherman, you know what? I got to see my first Sherman a couple of years back in person, and I was shocked at how tall that tank was. You know what? I always look at the model kits, that I've built since I was a little kid, but never saw one in person. And even my son, the first time we went there, we walked up to him and go, "God, Dad, that's way bigger than I thought it would." I go, "Me too." I go, "I'm expecting this tiny tank," and it is very, very a tall tank. And until you see these things in person or walking up to the King Tiger for the first time, you're like, holy crap, this is big. This is a monster right here. Or the Sturmtiger, like I was just saying. I'm not tall. I'm 5'10" on a good day, my wife will say. So, but I could stand up inside that Sturmtiger and my head would the top of what hair I have left would just graze the top of the inside of that thing. So you just don't realize the massiveness of these things till you get to go up inside and climb on them. And that their only rule was to us is don't fall off, please. If you fall off and get hurt, we're not going to be able to do this anymore. So,
get the insurance company involved. Right. You're in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to say, I think it was at Fort Carson, Grant, where they have an Easy 8 Sherman. That was the first time I had seen one. I mean, I knew they were tall, 14, 13 odd feet tall, which is pretty tall. A lot of people don't realize that. 14 feet tall is tall. I'm 6 foot and I'm looking up at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't realize just how big and awkward they are until you try to climb on one. Because
absolutely
they have a gate guard. And of course, it's like, oh, don't get on the tank. So I'm like, well, I'm going to get on this tank.
Yeah.
Right.
The MPs are going to have to come stop me. Well, I'm going to do it.
Right.
And, I'm in pretty good shape. And I was like, man, this is hard to climb up. I would not like to have to do this all the time.
Exactly. And speaking of, I'm not as in good shape as I was when I was in my 20s, and I'm sitting in the Panzer IV, and I climbed through the cupola, and I was like, oh, cool. I slid in there. And they go, hey, go slide up to the driver's compartment. And I look down and they go, how? I'm not 20 years old. And now my 20-year-old son was, and he could, but he's 135 pounds. He slid right in. And I'm like, now I'm getting out of the tank, and I'm going to climb over the top, and I'm going to slide through the driver's compartment through the front like you're supposed to do. They are big, very, very big.
Yeah, I'd still take one of those World War II German machines over a Russian tank. We went out to the petting zoo at Nellis, and we were trying to get in and out of the T-72 they have there. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
Unless Russians are tiny, tiny people.
Yep.
That takes a lot of work.
They have one of those over there too, and you're right, they're very tiny. The other thing that was fun to look at too at the museum, and forgive me if I told you this in the last story, they have a leopard tank in there, and the cross on the side of it, Balkenkreuz, is that their symbol? They had it on there, and it was this because the German army runs this partially with the museum, and it was right off one of the lines in there. And oh my God, the glossing on the side of this decal right here. A modeler would be so upset on this. And I took a picture of it and I posted it all over. This was a couple of years back. And I go, look at that. Look at the silvering on this right here. This guy didn't dull coat over it or anything on it. So it's amazing to see the real life stuff. And then it makes me go, yeah, okay, my kit wasn't that as bad as I thought it came out.
So on your trip over there, you got to hang out with a buddy of ours, Rick Lawler. How was that? What'd you guys do together?
Yes, very good. I hadn't known Rick before. I watched a bunch of his stuff, and I still do all the time. He was a great guy, and we had a lot of fun at the after parties that we had at MVK. He's a great guy, and we were the two Amis, is what the Germans call us Americans over there. It was a lot of fun, though. It was good having another compatriot over here from the U.S. of A. So, especially one that speaks English. So.
Sounds like a blast. Well, we better get back to your physical fitness. So how many steps a day do you get in your warehouse? I know some people, they count their reps with weights and miles, but how many steps a day do you get? And more importantly, how many Sherman boxes have you moved so far?
A lot. So what happened with that is I normally am only at the warehouse for a couple hours a day, and then I go to my store. But the day the 40-foot Sherman container came in, two people that should have been there were not there. So It was me and my very good friend who also works. He's works in our warehouse, and the two of us unloaded that entire 40-foot container. My wife did help a lot. We'd load up all the pallets because they come on the floor. Nothing comes on pallets when it's coming on those because it saves space not to. So she would move the pallets out. We'd throw another one in. And this old man was tired by the end of that day. So it came earlier than we thought, obviously, because I originally said November. We get the call and says, hey, we knew the ship arrived. And they said, we're ready. We're bringing it to you Monday morning. I went, oh, boy. Okay. So
Man, that's awesome. A 40-foot container of Sherman goodness.
Yes. Oh. And we've got one more coming, that has the last batch of them on it and then that's it for this production run. So anyone who is thinking of getting one, they might want to do it quick because I know we're going to get the emails. You're out. And it's like...
All right. Well, I think we've teased everybody long enough. I'm going to turn it over to TJ, and you guys can talk about the big announcement.
I know we kind of touched on it earlier, and we kind of pushed it off to a little bit later, but I think that time has come. So for the listeners and your fans, what is your big announcement?
Okay, before I do that, though, since I've got four of you right here in front of me, what do you think it is? Because I have so many people who tell me they know what it is. I'm just curious what you guys think, and then I'll or three of you in front. Sorry, I guess I'm the fourth guy on the screen.
Yeah. Well, you'll tell us what you think.
Right. I'm just curious. What do you guys think it is? So,
all right, I'll go first. So, two things. One of which is a joke because Ivan, who couldn't be here today, our friendly Brit, has been messaging our podcast group chat with what the announcement is, and I was like, I'm not going to tell you. Well, first I was like, I know what it is, Ivan. He's like, well, what is it? Like, it's a 1/16 scale Tiger Toon tank because he hates Toon tanks. He hates them. So I don't think it's actually that, but what do I think it is? It's 1/16 scale.
Yeah, I will say that. let that cat out of the bag because it's a while ago. But
let me think. I'm trying to think of what hasn't been in 1/16 scale.
Well, you know what? It's funny while you're thinking about that too. I started looking at it. There are so many things that can be made in 16 scale without going, into every skewer tank that's never, seen 5 or made in real life or anything like that. But when you actually sit down and start thinking about it, there's a lot of cool stuff in 16 scale that can come out there.
So it's not a Jeep, obviously. It's not a Sherman, and it's not a Stug.
Oh, well, it's not an Easy 8 Sherman.
It's not an Easy 8 Sherman. Okay, so, me personally, I would like an M4A176 Sherman because that is my favorite variation of the Sherman. It's dead sexy. The cast all with the big gun, the T-23 turret, love it. So that's what I would like. So I'm gonna go with that.
Next.
I'm gonna say we've already done the Jeep and the Sherman, of course, the Stugs, everything. I think we're gonna go back German, and that's gonna be a half track, a 251.
Okay. And
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Well, my guess is going to be something I would love to see in 16 scale. I would love to see a Hetzer, a young Panzer 38. So that's what I would like.
Be very cool.
So, that would be cool.
And you might notice I'm writing all these down too, for ideas for later on it there. Well, since I have to say, unfortunately, you guys are all wrong. So the kit that will be coming out, first of all, I'll say this. It is the molds are being cut right now, and I should have a prototype sometime in November. And production will not be here, unfortunately, for Christmas time, but production will be finished sometime in December. So early next year. And I am doing a Tiger 1 early in 16th scale, state of the art one. So
that will be a monster.
Oh,
yes.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yes. And that's, you look at the people who don't know armor, who don't know anything like that, Sherman and Tiger are the two that they know, if you don't know anything else. And everybody knew the Tiger tank. And I just was shocked that up until this point, I mean, there was, to me, it has a nice kit, but it's an RC kit. It's, you got to spend $1,600 to get that. So someone who wants to just do as a modeler, that's tough to do right there. And there was one other kit that was out that was kind of toyish. It was a toy that was converted into a model kit from what I was told. So this is going to be a state-of-the-art one. It's going to be an early one, so we'll have Feifel air cleaners on it. It's a 3-in-1 kit, so it'll have a command tank. It'll also have Michael Whitman in it. Oh. So it's going to be Whitman's command tank as one of the options that are going to be inside there. And then, of course, you can build just a standard Tiger 1 early.
Oh, wow.
I'm very excited about it. It's one of my favorite kits, just to build. You look at a Tiger and it's a cool vehicle to see. So
yeah, that's fantastic. I can't wait. That's going to be the Whitman Command Tiger. That's a perfect nail right there on the top of the head.
I think so. I looked at, you always look at when Dragon would come out with Tigers, and anything with Whitman on it would sell out so quickly on it. And there's going to be multiple markings. You don't have to do his inside there. There'll be plenty to do.
Yeah.
And it's having a 16 scale, really nice one like that. I always wanted that. And I was like, we got to do this. So.
Yeah. That's going to be beautiful. That's going to be, I'm just trying to picture the suspension on it with all the wheels and stuff like that in my head. I'm like, oh, boy, that's going to be fun.
And the best part of all, we're going to try to keep the price right about $150.
Wow. Fantastic.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's a deal.
Just take my money.
Right. And that's what I tell you, I look at this because I know the customers in there and I know what they want. And we'll sell some if we do them at $250, but I want more people to enjoy this. And once they start doing 16 scale, it's really hard to walk away from it. I'm telling you, once you get further along, TJ, on that Sherman, you're going to be like, I kind of want to do another big scale thing right here. At least for me, I'm in my 50s, like I said, so I can see everything still very well in 16 scale. So, and hold it. That's the best part of all. So, it's hopefully I'll have artwork very soon here and we'll be sharing it with everybody. And Jason, the artist, is working on that right now.
Oh, I love his work.
It is. It's gorgeous stuff right there. And we've got the box art's going to be facing the other way too. So you'll be able to put the two side by side pointing at each other. So
is it going to come with a figure?
Yes, it comes with Michael Whitman.
Nice. Oh, cool.
It comes with
Very cool.
It comes with a Whitman figure. any 16 scale I do, I always want to include a figure because I think that's the greatest way for someone to determine scale.
Yeah.
You look at something and you build it and you have, we know what 35th scale looks like, but then you put a figure next to it and go, man, that was really tinier than I thought it was going to be. And at least when you take a human being size figure and you put it next to it and you go, oh, okay, I get a generic size, here, how this is supposed to look here. And yeah, always want to have more and more figures come out with all these kits.
So Steve at Value Gear, so just get your Tiger 1 stuff ready to go to Andy's place here in a while.
Right. So. Well, that's the nice thing. A lot of the Stug stuff will just carry right over. I mean,
exactly.
Other than the ammo boxes, which are, different ammunition. But I was looking at it too. Tiger Crews really didn't store much on the outside of them right there. Not like Stugs. Stugs were like everything in the kitchen sink were thrown on the back. And in the Tiger...
there's a lot of room in a Tiger. You're right, Andy. It's towards the end of the war, there's a lot more stuff on there. But the early models, it was clean.
Plus, they have those turret bins.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm over the moon excited about it. I can't wait to get the test shot and start playing around with that and see how everything comes out. And it's always such a big step too between the test shot and then when the final production goes. And you're like, wow, it's all the extra detail. He said, I knew it was supposed to be on there, but when the Sherman finally showed up and I was looking at every little bit of detail and there was a lot of emails going back and forth saying, okay, well, I want to see this have done right like this and that. We know we'll take care of it. We've got you. And so I can't wait to see this one come through.
Gotcha.
So I know it wasn't any of your choices, but I wrote every one of those down as good ideas for the future. And I would like to do more Shermans in the future too. There's talks with stuff like that, but nothing firm right now. So my all concentration is on the Tiger. So
yeah, that's great.
Well, it's gonna do well. I mean, it's a Tiger. Everyone loves Tigers, right?
Absolutely. And people go, oh, it's another Tiger, but it's a Tiger.
Yeah.
It is another Tiger.
Yeah. Everyone says that, but then they all still sell.
When Tamiya brought out the 109 G6, oh, why are they doing a 109? And then it was the best selling kit I've ever had. So it's like, that's why.
Yeah. Between the Sherman and the Tiger, people are going to love that. And what better way to introduce them to the scale than these popular subjects that have wide mass appeal?
Absolutely. And that's the name of the game. We want to get it out and we've got to sell enough of them at a reasonable price. That's the thing I kept falling back on. I want this to be open to the masses right there. And I know some people go, well, $150 is a lot of money. And yeah, I'm not trying to downplay that, but compared to like $400 or $1,000 kit, that just takes so many people out of the equation that, don't want to spend that kind of money.
Well, I have to say, like with the Sherman, right? I like Asuka Shermans for 1/35 scale. I think they're the best. The Tamiya Easy 8's great too, but the Asuka has everything. I don't know if you can tell, but on that one side is all
right.
Asuka Shermans. Love them. And for the price of essentially 2 Asuka Sherman kits, plus you got to add in some extras with the Asuka Shermans because they all have 2-piece gun barrels, which no thank you. Buy a metal gun barrel. Yeah. And you add that in. If you do 2 of those, you've bought a 1/16 scale Easy 8 Sherman from you. And that comes with all that already. You don't need aftermarket tracks. You don't need an aftermarket barrel. It has all that. They're all great. And the amount of modeling enjoyment hours you get out of that $139 roughly, it pays for itself in my opinion, just because it's so big and it's so cool and it's so fun. It's worth every cent.
And one thing I'm going to immediately get rid of this myth right now. You don't have to use a gallon of paint to paint a 16 scale tank. People go, how many bottles did you use? And I'm like, I used a tiny bit more than I normally would do. You can paint probably 3 of those Shermans easily with a regular bottle or the 23 milliliter bottle of Tamiya. It goes pretty far. It's not that much more paint you're using on it there. So, but you're right with the metal barrel and the figure. The figure is very nicely done. And Jason actually sculpted that himself. And the way they cut it and laid it all out is beautiful. And I've got high hopes too for the Whitman figure too, to be put into the cupola.
Yeah, and I'll say this: what I like about 1/16 scale is that I've seen a lot of fathers with their sons building them together because they're a bigger kit for a kid that so it's not like the 1/35 scale where the kid has to really has arms and small hands. he used this 1/16 scale kit, and it's nice for that because it's bringing the younger kids into the hobby. And as we need that. We definitely need that. So, and these the Jeep is specifically fantastic for that. The Sherman is fantastic for that. And you're seeing a lot of group builds with dads and their sons working on these things.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's fantastic. And,
and kids like the things that are impressive.
Yeah.
You show them a 72nd scale, and nothing against 72. I like looking at those too, but it's like, oh, that's cool. And then you show them a 16 scale Sherman, bang on the table, and they come in because I had two of them sitting on the front of my store, and the kids would come in and they'd be like just so fascinated by the big scale stuff. Yeah. Oh, this is cool right here. Yeah. And then the way that the tracks all work. Yep. You can roll it, and it's like to me they always seemed way more fascinated with the bigger things get. Yep. It was like, oh, this is pretty cool right here.
Yeah,
it's like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I saw it when I was at your store a while ago. That was months or almost over a year ago with your Abrams on the counter. You had the big 1/16 scale Tamiya Abrams, and that the kid was up there just moving it, and he was just his eyes were like the size of saucers, and he was like just watching the tracks go back and forth. That was fantastic. You
Absolutely.
See that. That's what's good about it.
I agree. And it is going to have a metal barrel. The Tiger is going to have a metal barrel. I insist on that kind of stuff because it's necessary in that. It'll have a plastic one too, but I like having that extra weight up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the larger kits, like in the Sherman. I think that aluminum, keeps that straight and true a little bit better than the plastic parts do too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And plus it's just cool. So
absolutely. And he's right. That when you pull that Sherman barrel out for the first time, it's like that's a hunk of metal right there.
That's right.
The only one I've ever seen bigger was when Revell of Germany released that howitzer, the German howitzer, and they included for a short time. It was almost like it was like a baseball bat.
TJ's for you listeners is showing us the barrel out of his Sherman kit. That's huge.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
that's a big piece of aluminum right there. Awesome. Well, man, Andy, what a fantastic announcement for all the listeners out there. You heard it. If you haven't ordered a Sherman, make sure that you get a Sherman on order, or you may have to wait for production number 2 sometime in the future. Andy, continued success. These subjects are incredible. We're super excited about them, and I know you're going to do really well with them.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it. I love being on with you guys. It's been great. Yeah, lots of cool things in the future too that will be coming that we can talk about then. And but the Tiger is going to blow some people away when they see this. So
yeah,
awesome. Well, what a great companion for that Sherman as well.
And I loved that one because we don't have to worry about Zimmer it.
That's right. There you go. Yeah.
If you mold it in, everyone can. Well, how can I do 2 now? The pattern's identical, and then if you try doing it yourself, it's like, oh man, that is a lot of work. I did it one time on a Sturm Tiger, and it came out okay, but it was as much work doing that as it was building the kit. So, early Tigers are wonderful looking, though.
Yes, they are. Those, and like you said, the Feifel air cleaners are really interesting as well. So
and the
that's
rubber tires rather than the
choice.
steel wheel and stuff. Yep. Yeah. And then there's different ways. You can paint it in 3-tone camouflage. You can do it in winter. You can do it in gray. They were using those right along all different theaters. So it's got it's a great canvas, we'll call it, for painting. And that's why, TJ, when you get to the painting and weathering, that's when the fun really starts on that Sherman. I found it to be a lot easier to start weathering in there because it starts to look more 1-to-1 scale in my eyes. You get up close to it and you go, okay, I can see how this kind of looks like what it looks like outside, mud and dirt and grime and all that kind of stuff on it.
Yeah, I can't wait. Trying to decide if I'm going to just do it all OD or do OD over with black over it because I love that scheme. Or also the whitewash because I love whitewash, and whitewash on OD looks awesome. So
it does. Yes. I thought about that as one for myself, and I might still do that, but I got to make the first one just the way it is. The first one had to be Denise. So, I mean, that one, it was not going to be anything else other than that. And then 8th Armor was, I don't know if I mentioned that. My grandfather was with 1st Infantry Division in World War II. And after all the fighting that he had gone through, they had transferred him to 8th Armor at the end of the war. So he had my grandmother gave me his uniform when he passed on, and I never knew that. I go, he's got 1st Infantry on his regular sleeve. Why does he have 8th on the? And I talked to my uncle. He goes, oh yeah, they said, hey, we need numbers. You're going to Czechoslovakia to be with 8th Armor. So my kit has got 8th Armor Division on it. So I'm thinking maybe he would have got the climb on or been near one of those exact Easy 8 Shermans like that. So it kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone with that build.
I mean, everybody probably knows already, but tell everybody where your website, your social media, all that good information, where they can find you. Absolutely.
So the website is andyshhq.com. And in Europe, in the rest of the world, is andyshhq.eu. And social media, we've got all different types of ones. Mediocre Modelers is the biggest one. Also, you can just go to Andy's Hobby Headquarters on Facebook. A lot of the stuff is tied to that. So you'll be able to branch out and see all the different things like that. And then the new one, and I'm forgetting exactly how we called it, but it's the Andy's Hobby Headquarters M4A3E8 Sherman build group, which it's tied with Mediocre Modelers. So you'll be able to find it pretty easily there. And I'm having fun looking at all the cool posts. And a couple of my friends got to go to the Armor Museum and they took a bunch of pictures and are posting them up there now. So I'm like, oh, sweet. I got Easy 8 pictures to look at.
Awesome. Well, international traveler, modeler, YouTube influencer, and now kit manufacturer, Andy Klein. Thanks so much for being with us again.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
We'll talk to you soon, Andy.